Adam, can you tell me about Sunnis and Shias? They're the two largest sects in Islam, right?
Yes, Omar. They are the largest sects, and each of them splits into multiple subsects too. While they differ greatly in many beliefs and practices, what's interesting is that they also extremely similar at the same time. Sunnis are approximately 85% of all Muslims. Shia are about 15%. Ibadi, which is a very small sect found in Oman. There are also smaller groups like the Ahmadiyya and Qadiani, and people like us who follow the Quran alone. They often mislabel us as Quranis or Quranists instead of simply calling us Muslims.
But these main sects also have their own subsects, right?
Exactly, Omar. Among Sunnis, the four main schools of thought are Hanafi, Malki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Then you have groups like the Salafiyya, Al-Sufiyya, Al-Wahhabiyya, Al-Ash'ariyya, Al-Maturidiyya, the Muslim Brotherhood, known as Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Al-Mu'tazila, Al-Murji'ah, Al-Jahmiyya, and Al-Karamiyya. In South Asia, you'll find Deobandi and Barelvi movements. In the U.S., there's even the Nation of Islam, an African-American Islamic movement. As for the Shia, their subsects include the Twelvers, or Ithna Ashariya, which is the largest, along with the Ismailis, the Alawites, and the Zaydis. What's ironic is that followers of these sects accuse Quran-only Muslims of trying to divide the Ummah, while they themselves are blind to the fact that Muslims are already deeply divided. The only true source of unity we have left is the Quran, the only book all agree on unconditionally.
Yes, it's both ironic and heartbreaking. I honestly don't understand how someone can be so blind to the truth.
Allah already warned us that such people would exist. He said in chapter 22, verse 46, "Have they not traveled through the land so that they may have hearts by which to reason, or ears by which to hear? For indeed, it is not the eyes that go blind, but it is the hearts within the chest that go blind." And that's exactly what we're witnessing today. People who are well-educated, with easy access to the Quran and all the knowledge they need, yet they choose blindness. They follow any bearded man they see and never question what they're told. Allah exposed this behavior in chapter 9, verse 31, long before the time of Prophet Muhammad. And we see the same pattern repeated among Muslims today. They have taken their scholars and monks as lords besides Allah, and also the Messiah, son of Mary. Yet they were not commanded except to worship one God. There is no deity except Him. Exalted is He above whatever they associate with Him. Sadly, this is what's happening now. Most Muslims blindly follow scholars and man-made books filled with lies and fabrications about the Prophet. They believe these books explain the Quran, when in fact they introduce new laws and rulings that have no basis in the Quran.
And what's crazy is how obvious it is, except to those who choose to stay blind, that these books are a complete mess. There's no exact number of hadiths, and there are hundreds of books, each claiming to be the true sayings of the Prophet.
Exactly, Omar. Sunni Muslims follow a variety of hadith books, many of which contradict the Quran, and even contradict each other within the same collection. Here are just a few examples of their man-made collections. Sahih al-Bukhari, around 7,563 hadiths, about 2,600 of them are unique. Sahih Muslim, around 7,500 hadiths, about 2,200 of them are unique. Sunan Abu Dawud, about 4,800 hadiths. Jami' al-Tirmidhi, about 3,956 hadiths. Sunan al-Nasa'i, about 5,270 hadiths. Sunan Ibn Majah, about 4,341 hadiths. Muwatta Malik, about 1,720 hadiths. Musnad Ahmad, about 27,000 hadiths. What's truly ironic is that Sahih Muslim doesn't even include many hadiths from Sahih al-Bukhari, despite the fact that Muslim was Bukhari's own student. Yet they still insist that Bukhari's collection is the most authentic book after the Quran. But here's the real hypocrisy. They claim the Quran is the highest authority, but in practice they constantly override it with hadith, especially Bukhari. For many, Bukhari has become more authoritative than the Quran itself. That's what's truly mind-blowing.
And what about the Shia? I assume they have their own set of books.
The Shia have their own hadith collections, completely different from the Sunni ones. Here are the main ones they follow. Al-Kafi by Muhammad bin Yaqub al-Klini, about 16,199 hadiths. Man la yahduruhu al-Faqih by Shaykh al-Saduq, about 9,044 hadiths. Tahdhib al-Ahkam by Shaykh al-Tusi, about 13,590 hadiths. Al-Istibsar also by Shaykh al-Tusi, about 5,511 hadiths. So now you've got two major sects in Islam, each with their own massive collections of books, filled with different narrations, rulings, and contradictions. Yet both sides claim they have the truth. It's chaos disguised as scholarship.
How did these sects start in the first place?
The division between Sunni and Shia Muslims began shortly after the death of Prophet Muhammad, and it wasn't originally about theology or belief. It was about political leadership. Shia Muslims believed that leadership, the Khilafah, should have remained within the Prophet's family, specifically with Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. They view Ali as divinely appointed to be the rightful successor. Sunni Muslims, on the other hand, believed that the Muslim community should choose the most qualified leader. They supported Abu Bakr, a close companion of the Prophet, who was chosen as the first Khalifa. This disagreement over succession led to political conflict, and over time, it developed into religious, legal, and doctrinal differences that have lasted for centuries. Today, both sects follow different collections of hadith, legal rulings, and leadership structures, but the origin of the split was purely political, not doctrinal. Sunni hadiths are mostly narrated by the Sahaba, companions of the Prophet, including Abu Huraira, Aisha, and Ibn Abbas. Shia hadiths rely heavily on Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet's family, especially the 12 Imams for 12 Shia. Companions like Abu Huraira are often not considered reliable by Shia scholars.
Of course, no one knows the exact number of hadiths in either sect, but it's estimated that Sunni collections contain between 20,000 to 25,000 hadiths, while Shia collections contain around 16,000 to 20,000. Sunni hadiths are usually shorter and more concise, focusing on practical guidance, sayings, and supposed actions of the Prophet reported by his companions. Shia hadiths are often more elaborative and descriptive, with longer narrations that go into detail about theology, law, and the role of the Imams.
Exactly, Omar. To justify the authenticity of their collections, Shia scholars claim that the Imams are completely free from error and sin. On the other hand, Sunni scholars rely on narrators and transmitters after the Sahaba, and they treat these narrators as if their reports are free from error. But we know this idea contradicts the Quran. No human being is free from sin, not even the prophets. Allah said in chapter 16, verse 61, "If Allah were to punish people immediately for their wrongdoing, He would not leave a single living creature on earth, but He delays them for an appointed time." This verse makes it clear, every soul is guilty of wrongdoing, and only Allah is free from error.
As I always say, Adam, those who follow hadith and man-made books are so blind it's honestly embarrassing. They have no clue how these hadiths even reached us, and no clue which one is supposedly authentic and which one isn't.
True, Omar. They just follow whatever their bearded men tell them. If a scholar says this hadith is authentic, then that's it. No research, no questions, just blind obedience. And of course, those same so-called scholars never care if a hadith contradicts another hadith, or even the Quran itself. They always come up with some pathetic excuse or pull some made-up explanation from their pocket to justify the hadith.
So where exactly are we today? And why did you say that the two main sects are actually similar in some ways?
Because today we see Sunnis elevating the Prophet, his companions, and even later figures to the level of lords, as the verse says, Arbaban min dunallah, exactly what Allah warned against in the Quran. In practice, hadith is often given more authority than the Quran itself. The Prophet's name is mentioned more than Allah's, and the Sahaba are treated as if they have divine authority, with the power to explain the Quran and even introduce laws not found in it. For example, Khalifa Omar introduced the Taraweeh prayer, which has no basis in the Quran. On the other side, Shia do the very same thing. They raise Ali and the Ahlul Bayt to the level of lords, blindly following everything narrated from them and placing their words above the Quran. Ali's name is mentioned more than Allah's, mirroring what Sunnis do with the Prophet.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why you're saying they're basically the same.
It's crystal clear, Omar. Both sides take lords alongside Allah. Both rely on man-made books and place them above the Quran. In that sense, they're no different at all. They both fall into shirk, plain and simple. Anyone who gives divine authority to humans is doing exactly what Allah warned us against. It's all right there in the Quran. They just choose not to see it.
Whoa, Adam. That's a bold statement. Calling them Mushrikeen?
That's not my label, Omar. Allah himself called them that, and he didn't leave any room for debate about it. Actually, they are wrong for two reasons, not one. First, because they have divided into sects. Allah said in chapter 30, verses 31 and 32, "Turn to him in repentance and fear him, and establish prayer, and do not be among those who associate others with Allah." Those who divided their religion and became sects, each group rejoicing in what they have. And in chapter 6, verse 159, "Indeed, those who have divided their religion and become sects, you are not associated with them in anything. Their affair is only with Allah, then he will inform them about what they used to do." Second, because they took the Prophet, Sahaba, Ahlul Bayt, and scholars as lords besides Allah. Allah said in chapter 3, verse 80, "And he would never command you to take the angels and the prophets as lords. Would he command you to disbelieve after you have submitted?" And in chapter 3, verse 31, "They have taken their scholars and monks as lords besides Allah, and also the Messiah, son of Mary. Yet they were not commanded except to worship one God. There is no deity except him. Exalted is he above whatever they associate with him." These verses are not vague. They're loud, clear, and direct. No interpretation needed. But of course, some genius will pop into the comments saying, "You don't know how to interpret Quranic verses." My response? No interpretation is needed. Just the courage to accept what Allah already made crystal clear.
So that means you're talking about most Muslims today. Are you suggesting the majority are not following the right path?
Once again, Omar, that's not me. Allah is the one saying it. Just listen to these verses that couldn't be any clearer. Allah said in chapter 12, verse 106, "And most of them do not believe in Allah except while they associate others with him." And in chapter 12, verse 103, "Most of the people, even if you strive for it, are not to be believers." So what more can I say? These aren't my words. These are Allah's words. But will they believe? That's the real question.
That's why I am a Muslim who follows the Quran only.
I leave you with these verses from the Quran. I advise all Muslims who follows anything besides the Quran to read them and study them. Allah said in chapter 17, verse 88, "Say, if mankind and jinn gathered together to produce the like of this Quran, they could not produce the like of it, even if they were to each help one another." Nothing can rival the Quran or even come close, let alone replace it and abrogating it with man-made books as all sects do today. Allah said in chapter 31, "And when it is said to them, 'Follow what Allah has revealed,' they say, 'Rather we follow that which we found our fathers upon.'" Even though Satan is inviting them to the punishment of the blaze, and in chapter 50, "We know best what they say, and you are not over them a tyrant. So remind with the Quran whoever fears my warning." And in chapter 6, say, "What thing is greatest in testimony?" Say, "Allah is witness between me and you, and this Quran has been revealed to me that I may warn you with it and whomever it reaches. Do you truly testify that there are other gods with Allah?" Say, "I do not testify." Say, "He is only one God, and indeed I am free of what you associate with him." And in chapter 29, "Is it not sufficient for them that we have sent down to you the book which is recited to them? Surely in that is a mercy and a reminder for people who believe."
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed discovering the real Islam and found the information helpful.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can continue learning more about Islam directly from the Quran.